Experience.
There we go. I don't know if that came through or not, but ladies and gentlemen, John Brady is with me today. Welcome to the Atheist Experience.
That is.
What is atheism anyways? According to dictionary.reference.com, atheism is the doctrine or belief that there is no God, disbelief in the existence of a supreme being or beings. According to Webster's Ninth New Collegiate Dictionary, which you may have at home as I do, atheism is a disbelief in the existence of deity, the doctrine that there is no deity. PhilosophyPages.com says that atheism is belief that God does not exist. Unlike the agnostic, who merely criticizes traditional arguments for the existence of a deity, the atheist must offer evidence. PhilosophyDictionary.org says that atheism is the denial of the existence of God. God does not exist. I think that going to philosophy dictionaries is probably a really good way to discover the meaning of atheism, since it's a very philosophically heavy, meaningful term. According to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, atheism means the negation of theism, the denial of the existence of God. These are all strong assertive themes. The University of Aberdeen's Glossary of Technical Terms also agrees and says that an atheist is someone who believes that there is no God. This doesn't seem like much of a debate, but what about some of the atheist websites? What do they say atheism is? On infidels.org, under the title What is Atheism?, it says atheism is characterized by an absence of belief in the existence of gods. At atheism.about.com, it is defined as not believing in any gods. These are very weak, very soft definitions of atheism. I wonder why.
Atheism. I don't think it means what you mean it to mean. Your words are confusing me when you put it that way. Why make it confusing when you can just say it plain? If you believe there is no God, just come out with a claim. Lack of belief in God makes your stance sound weak and lame. Atheism. You say that my baby's lacking a belief in God. Well, I can say the same thing about my lucky fishing rod. I don't need no big words to prove that concept wrong. So I thought I'd make fun of it, singing in this song. Atheism. Yeah. Philosophically, I think you may have missed that simply a lack of belief does not make an atheist. I'm not trying to make fun or suggest that we should hate. Just want to keep some other folks from making that mistake. Atheism. Yeah.
You're listening to the Bible Thumping Wingnut Show, the show that's safe for the whole family. Unless your family contains professing atheists.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Atheist Experience. That's right. This is when right here on the Bible Thumping Wingnut YouTube channel, we take the time to review what the atheists are saying on the Atheist Experience show. And unfortunately, Mr. Len Pettis is unable to be with us this evening. He is doing some grappling with theology. If you don't know what that means, Len Pettis also has another podcast called Grappling with Theology. It's also on the Bible Thumping Wingnut Network. Go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com and you can see Len's podcast there, as well as the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast, as well as the Atheist Experience podcast that you're watching on YouTube right now. You can also get other podcasts as well, a bunch of other podcasts, all part of Orthodox Christianity's marketplace of ideas, otherwise known as the Bible Thumping Wingnut Network. We don't agree on everything, but we agree on the essentials of the Christian doctrines. And go check that out. Big shout out to Wrath and Grace, financial supporter of this network. Go to wrathandgrace.com, get excellent Christian clothing, as well as they have a podcast as well, and they have coffee, and they have books and conferences as well. Lots and lots of stuff Wrath and Grace, sponsor of Bible Thumping Wingnut Network. Christians, if you're watching this, go ahead and share this on Facebook. I've got so many tabs open. I'm not going to be able to do that right now. So many things running. But, and also thank you to our Patreon supporters. Our Patreon supporters, you're the ones who make this possible. You're the ones who pay the bills around here. And if you are a listener or a viewer of this broadcast and you like what we're doing here, please consider helping us out financially. You can give a one-time gift, or you can become a monthly supporter on Patreon, or you can mail a check too. All those things are available. All that information is available at BibleThumpingWingnut.com, and just click on support this, support our ministry is what it says. And you'll get all three of those options. And we would greatly appreciate that. It will help push Bible Thumping Wingnut even farther into the far-reaching corners of the internet. And Lord willing, we're going to have a conference in the Northeast this fall. And those gifts help make that possible as well.
Yay.
Joining me is longtime Bible Thumping Wingnut, John Brady, the voice. You might remember I call you the voice of the Bible Thumping Wingnut.
Yes. It's been a while since I've done much, but yes, the voice of the Bible Thumping Wingnut.
Now, prove to everybody you are the voice of the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast.
You're listening to the Bible Thumping Wingnut Show, the show that's safe for the whole family. I wish I had the music. And then wait, hold on here. Unless your family contains professing atheists.
That's right. And who came up with that tagline?
Was it me?
Yeah.
I think it was. I don't remember. I fool around and I make stuff and then I put it out and I hear stuff and I take notes and it's just what I do. And lately, like I said, I've been kind of out of it. I've been in a lot of pain. I got a lot of issues and stuff. So I can at least sit in a seat for like a half hour, an hour now without being in excruciating pain. So.
We better hurry up then. But anyway, really, we've been praying for you. I've been praying for you myself, and I know we haven't had much contact lately, but you're always there whenever I come calling on you, and needed somebody to fill in for Len tonight, and here you are. So we are mixing up the format. We're still trying to settle into a groove of what we're going to be doing here on Sunday nights. But I thought that we would, after our little introduction that we just did, that we would read some feedback. We would read some feedback. So this is feedback from last week. So if you would like us to address your feedback next week, give us some feedback this week, and maybe I'll read them like I am now. So Ryan Johnson said, they, being Len and Tim, pretend that, I said that Matt was pretending that unicorns exist. Is that really your take away from that? He is quite clearly applying the same logic to a different proposition to demonstrate the logic is faulty. Oh, and then you guys criticize him for dropping an obvious prank caller. And you think the caller was a plant, quote unquote, plant by Dillahunty himself, even though he immediately complains about how much of a waste of time that caller was. When there are legitimate callers all lined up. This is really embarrassing for you guys. Well, I'm not embarrassed, but maybe Len is. You could ask him next week about the caller being a plant or not. We were very confused because it definitely did seem like it. But the whole unicorn exists, and the atheist. And let's address this argument when we give evidences for God. The atheist, even Matt Dillahunty, will be very proud to say, "Oh well, do pink unicorns exist?" And the Christian will say, "Well, no." And exactly, it's like, what do you like? That's some kind of
A
final.
gotcha. That's
Yeah.
a gotcha.
Okay. All right. So we don't have thousands and tens and thousands of documents, historical documents, and architectural what do you call it when you dig something up? Archaeology, discoveries,
archaeological, whatever.
Yeah, we don't have all those things for what's been written in the scriptures. We don't have scriptures. We can't. There aren't 500 eyewitness accounts of resurrected unicorns, things like that. So, and then if you want to take the response to the whole unicorn charge should be, well, then you're just a brain in a vat. Because if you're going to take all the evidence that you reject, the mound of evidence that you reject for Christianity, you're going to reject that because of the level of skepticism that you employ, then you might as well take all the evidence that you even exist outside your own mind and just get rid of that evidence as well. So that would be my answer to the unicorn argument.
That would make sense though, and you can't do that. You can't make sense. There is no sense in atheism.
Brian responds to Ryan. Brian Keaton said, Ryan Johnson, just let the points sail right over their heads. They completely lack their complete lack of understanding makes more atheists. Are we making atheists here, John?
No, because there are no such thing.
Oh, good answer. Good answer. This comment on the YouTube channel, one word, idiots. Thank you.
I love that YouTube comment.
Yeah, that's
they got us. We're idiots. Oh no.
Oh, all right. Here's another one. Here's another comment. The callers were bringing up things that they have no answers to. Therefore, God. When Matt had his debate with Psycho Psy kept bringing up philosophical problems we don't have the answers to. When Matt said he couldn't solve these problems, Psy gleefully chalked that up as a win somehow. Pre-sup is boring. It's not even an argument. Nice try. Bring Slick back. He's funnier. God bless you. Oh, God bless you. Sorry.
God bless you.
I just kind of read into that. Thank you for your support. Here's another one. I like this one. I like this one here. This came in on Facebook. This is from how would you pronounce Leigh?
Lee. Leigh-I-G-H. I used to know a girl named Lee.
Yeah. Okay. So Lee says, to say I was fuming when you equated being gay to being a pedophilia would be an understatement. What two consenting adults get up to in private has nothing to do with you or me. When an adult interferes with a child who cannot consent, that is despicable. If you cannot see the difference, then you have my pity. My comment back was, why is consent needed? I've heard other quote unquote atheists argue sexual contact with children is beneficial to the child. I've heard testimony of adults who say that they are better off because they were touched by sexually as children by adults. Let me read that comment again. I've heard other adults say that they are better off today because they were touched sexually as a child by an adult. Do you agree with them? Why or why not? All you have is your subjective standard, which is no standard at all. So,
well, a lot of them believe also that, a child can determine what sex they think they are. So, so they can do that, but that's just insanity.
So my argumentation there is, why draw the line at consent? Who says that consent is a standard? That's just something that, that you've injected into the moral argument that you're trying to make, Lee. And the person who disagrees with you and says that consent isn't necessary, which we have seen atheists argue here on YouTube, that it's okay to have sexual engagements with children. It's actually beneficial to them. And what makes them wrong? Or what makes their position any better or worse than yours?
Yeah.
Len Pettis eventually commented on the thread and called him pedophile bigot. That's what Len called the guy.
You're a pedophile bigot. Go home.
Last comment. Looks like this was on Twitter. Missing Matt Slick already, but wish him well with his new balance of commitments. Intrigued to see how the new Sunday night format develops. Been listening to Bible Thumping Wingnut since it started, and to the Atheist Experience show for even longer. A crossover is going to be fascinating. And that is from a non-believer. Oops, I didn't read your name, but I threw your paper across the room.
Sorry.
All right. We'll get right into it.
Everyone believes in God. How could there be non-believers? I'm just giving you a problem.
There you go. There you go. Stop holding me to consistency. That Mormon.com comes up as a commercial for. All right. So this week on the Atheist Experience, we have Jen Peeples and Russell Glasser. Did you watch the Atheist Experience, John?
I've only seen it a few times, snippets with the whole Matt Delante, baloney stuff that, he likes to spew.
Hey, let's not muddy the waters. Let's not come into this with any bias.
No, I have a complete open mind.
Yes. This is I haven't watched all of it. I've watched some of it. So I know that all they have is announcements up into the 27-minute mark or 22-minute mark. 22. Actually, the first thing I want to look at is part of the announcements when Russell introduces a book of somebody that he knows. So what we're going to try to do today is not stop the video as often as we did last week and just listen to the engagement or the arguments being made. And then I will, and my guest host, John, we will comment on them and give you a apologetic from a Christian standard. So that is the goal this evening.
Yeah. So speaking of talking about things that you have no idea about, completely unprompted, I haven't been asked to plug this book, but last week I attended a talk by physicist Daniel Whiteson and his cartoonist friend Jorge Cham, who some people might know as the author of the webcomic PhD Comics.
Oh.
So the two of them have collaborated, and I actually have a special interest in this because Daniel Whiteson, the physicist professor, is actually an old classmate of mine. He and I were on the high school debate team together at Los Alamos High School. And I listened to his talk. He's still a good talker. The Los Alamos High School debate team did very well with a lot of people. So I want to brag on my school a little bit, but also I want to mention this book, We Have No Idea, A Guide to the Unknown Universe. It's full of entertaining illustrations by Jorge Cham. And It's an interesting book because it sort of frankly acknowledges the problems that we have, or not problems, but the gaps that we have in our scientific knowledge today. And instead of just papering them over, it paints them as exciting, because a lot of what science is about discovering new things that nobody has ever known before. That's what really gets scientists going. And the content of this book and of the talk they did together was basically saying, look, there's all this stuff we actually don't know yet. We don't fully understand dark matter. We don't know what the smallest particles are. There are tons and tons of things we do not yet know about the universe. And that's great, because there's still plenty of chances for kids today to be pioneers and be the first ones to discover these things. During the talk, during the Q&A section, I asked Daniel, so, hey, do you ever get contacted by crackpots of various kinds who like the fact that we have no idea about things and use that as an opportunity to shoehorn in the things that they think they do know? I'm talking your Deepak Chopras of the world, who also don't know anything but pretend that they have the answers to these questions. And he said, yeah, absolutely. People pitch me on their silly pet theories all the time.
Well, how many times do we get emails from people with no academic background
None.
in anything, and they want our help in getting their basically strange theory of the universe peer-reviewed in some way?
Right.
And I mean, one guy literally sent us like, it was like a sheet of loose leaf paper that he had drawn some stuff on, and he scanned it and sent it to us at one point. I think I still have that somewhere in my archive. And that was like part of his thing he wanted peer-reviewed.
So A, even we can tell it's nonsense.
Yeah.
And B, even if we didn't know that, I mean, you know, even if we couldn't tell, we're not qualified to comment on your theory of the universe at all. We're just a couple of clowns on TV once in a while. We don't have these PhDs. But if you want to know more about what we don't know about, again, the book is We Have No Idea. And also, if you want just a quick taste, you can search for a YouTube video that Daniel Whiteson and Jorge Cham did together about the Higgs boson, which was picked up by a lot of news organizations and reposted as one of the clearest explanations that anybody seems to have managed to come up with for explaining the Higgs boson to lay people.
All right, so he's promoting his friend's book entitled We Have No Idea.
I love that, you know, you see like Neil deGrasse Tyson and people like Bill Nye, and they're like, we don't know these things, and it's just so fascinating that we have no idea. It's like, yeah, okay. You know, wasn't it, I believe, who was it that was talking about, oh gosh, Richard Dawkins, I think it was. At one point he was talking about, oh, it's just so fascinating that that everything just came from nothing. It's so fascinating. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever.
I like the name of the book. I think it should be the atheist theme, really. I mean, I don't mean to mock or say, hey, we got you, or anything like that, but you have no idea. You don't. This is what happens when you apply if you apply the skepticism that you apply to any evidence for God, if you apply that same skepticism to, like I said before, even your understanding of reality in any way, you don't know anything. We have no idea. That would be the defense that Matt Dillahunty gave when challenged by Cy ten Bruggencate. I don't know. I don't claim to know. Russell points out that this book seeks to address the problems and the gaps in our knowledge, in their knowledge. and he mentions a few things, but what are the things that they have no answer for, John? You think of a few important things they have no answer for?
Truth, they have no idea of it's, truth is a big thing, because it's true that they have no truth, and they have no answer for truth. They have no answer for, they have no idea.
Yeah, they can't account that when challenged philosophically from a presuppositional standpoint, they'll admit that they cannot know what truth is. So that would be a big gap. That would cover everything that I'm about to list. They have problems and no explanation for life, for biogenesis. That is how it is that any matter came to be. Morality, logic, mathematics, even the simplest construction in the smallest, simplest cell that we know of. They have no explanation for that. How did that came to be? So you come to an atheist and you say to the atheist, if all these things have just evolved with time and chance or no chance, they like to argue with themselves, or whether it was by chance or not by chance. If everything has evolved the way you say it has, including your body, and your brain, why would you trust your brain at all? If it just came together by random chemical processes, why would you trust it? Now, if you were in front of your computer, which like most of us are right now, and somebody told you that computer just randomly came together, and no intelligent life form put that computer together, and you asked that computer or a calculator a question, would you trust the answer that it gave you? If you knew that a device was not made by intelligent, let's say my remote here. Hey, we found this, and we know that nobody put this together, and it does look designed, but would you think that it would work if we just found this? And would we even be able to figure out what it did?
It might as well be a rock,
Yeah.
Might as well, it's
there you go. Your brain,
it looks like it, but if nothing intelligent put it together, then you wouldn't expect it to work. You wouldn't, how do you even know that you're looking at what you're looking at? If it's not, if your brain is just a random set of chemicals, you wouldn't know. And morality, that's a big one too, because, talking with a lot of people, it puts them in weird situations, like you said, with the whole pedophilia thing and everything. It's, you have to really, if you're consistent, you have to concede to the fact that there's no problem with that. You can't have an objection to that, because it's only your opinion. And if what you're basing it is on your opinion, then, if it's the individual's opinion, then someone else's opinion can be different. And who's to say their opinion's, wrong? Because that's what you're basing it on. When you ask people, you say, well, what is your basis? What is your standard?
Yep. And a lot of them will say, hey, it's just my subjective standard, but then they'll try to use other arguments that all of them fall apart. So
they'll go to one to the other, to the other, to the other.
This is now 27 minutes in. That's where I want to go. I want to go 27 minutes into their broadcast. They finally get to a caller. 27 minutes, which we're 28 minutes in. So I guess we have no room to criticize them. So here's their first caller. This is going to be, well, they'll introduce them.
Then come on by. All right. Are we ready to get started on calls?
Let's roll.
Okay. Thomas in Georgetown. Welcome.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Pretty good.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was, I guess the operator asked me what I wanted to talk about, and I said that I've been listening to you guys' show a lot, listen to it on YouTube, and I actually like it a lot.
Thanks.
And, well, I like how you guys get people thinking about stuff that they don't, thinking in ways that they're not used to thinking. And you could sometimes, it seems like when people talk, it's like the first time that they really thought about certain things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you grew up in a church, a lot of churches don't encourage people to ask questions and explore things. In fact,
I've heard a lot of stories about kids being punished for asking awkward questions.
Right.
I said we were going to try to play it more, but this is just if I don't address this now, then
you're going to forget about it.
Well, I wrote it down, but they're going to get into something else. I did watch a portion of this, almost a third of it already. Christians asking questions. Do you have any experience with that, John? Have you ever been in a Christian circle where you weren't allowed to ask questions?
No, not anywhere. No, unless it's a cult or something, don't ask any questions, or, some kind of weird situation. No, that's never, the whole point is to learn, the whole point of church is for, to teach, make disciples, you can't make disciples and don't ask, you do this, don't ask.
Yeah, I don't get that. They say that almost every week. They say that, and I don't know why they do that. I think maybe they know. Maybe they're not. I guess I shouldn't assume that they're lying, but that would be weird. But they're definitely bringing it up to try to make the point that Christianity doesn't have answers. Whether or not they're telling the truth is, I've heard someone, and children have been disciplined because they asked questions.
Well, maybe in a cult, if that's some kind of weird cult, don't ask any questions, because if you ask any questions about things that we don't like, then
no, if you've got a rebellious child, I mean, trying to give them the benefit of the doubt here, trying to reach. If you have a rebellious child that doesn't want to go to church, and they're under your roof, and you say we're going to church, and they say they're not, yeah, they would have discipline, but that wouldn't be for asking questions. All right, we will go further on here.
Yeah, well, I guess there you go.
There you go.
So I'm, okay. I guess I told the operator that I was, she asked if I was an atheist or a theist, and I said I was a theist, because in general, I'd say I am, but I still definitely have kind of my agnostic moments. And I don't really, I mean, if something is, been disproved, I mean, I don't believe in, that like all the animals in the world were on Noah's Ark,
so you're not a young Earth Christian, at least.
No, been disproved. I mean, I was raised evolution was talked about like it was just, that was the reality.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what denomination are you?
Episcopal.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the most chill Christian groups.
I like those chill Christian groups.
Yeah.
Well, but I still, at the same time, though, I would say that it's just one of the most fulfilling things to me. Even in some of my most kind of skeptical periods, I was still having some of my best experiences in some kind of religious capacity.
In what way? What makes you feel fulfilled about that? And I'm not trying to jump on you or say that you shouldn't feel fulfilled by that. I just want more to understand a little better.
Sure. Well, I mean, I could give you lots of different examples. I had one particular experience at like a Christmas, midnight Christmas Eve service. You know, I don't know. I'm sure somebody could give maybe a psychological account of what it was, but you know, it was, you know, I don't know if it was the music or what it was, but it was kind of like, it would be one of my highest or best experiences. And I have experiences, but also I pray, and those are kind of when I pray, I mean, I can't imagine not having that, having like the prayer life.
Yeah. So what I can tell you, there was a period in my life when I was Episcopalian. I identified it as an Episcopalian. I was confirmed in the Episcopal Church. I was an altar girl, the whole 9 yards. Okay. And what I tell people is that if the only Christians I'd ever been in contact with were Episcopalians, I'd probably be at least nominally still an Episcopalian. Even though I had some doubts about sort of the supernatural claims of Christianity, I didn't have any complaint about Episcopalianism and Episcopalians themselves, because they're some of the nicest people you'd ever want to meet. And I loved the church community, again, because of the people there. Unfortunately for, I guess, my parents in particular, I did meet other kinds of Christians. And I realized that they believe that they are practicing the same Christian traditions as the Episcopalians. When I went to, you know, when I questioned what the fundamentalists were saying about what was in the Bible, I'd go and read that passage of the Bible, and it was right there. It was what the fundamentalists were saying. I'd go and present this to the Episcopalians and ask them, hey, these guys say this about this passage. What do you say? And they would kind of gloss over it with some kind of more, I guess, softer, gentler version of it. But they didn't have a good reason for why they had a softer, gentler interpretation of that. And so without them being able to tell me why their interpretation was right and the fundamentalists were wrong, I started to lose confidence in what they were telling me. And I never for once thought that they were bad or malicious people, because I certainly knew that these were some of the best examples of humanity I could ever hope to meet, versus the fundamentalists, who were definitely not good representations of humanity.
Nasty fundamentalists.
But what that taught me was that there's something in this doctrine, you know, the claims of each side cannot both be true. And obviously the religion itself is not what's making these people good. And then I, you know, there was the questions about the claims themselves. And that was a whole other ball of wax.
Well, so I got a book. I don't have it anymore, but I had it last year for a while, and it was called like it was like the kind of like the worst parts of the Bible. And you know, I remember, you know, so there's a lot. I remember there was one that was
all right. So let's address what they've said so far. If you're hoping that this color gets better, I'm sorry. So Jen, what's her name? Peeples.
Was it?
Whatever.
Oh God,
I had her first name.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's not up on the screen right now. Jen. Yep. Jen Peeples. She says, well, actually, let me back up. The church that she went to was a social club, right? Right, John?
Yeah, that they didn't believe the Bible. They, you know.
And this gentleman seems to go to church not because he thinks that the Bible is true, but because he thinks there's a God and he has experiences.
Yeah.
But what she says is that the Episcopalians, you know, they're really nice people. I mean, I never had a bad, you know, never met a bad one I didn't like. I don't know if she said that yet, but I think she does eventually. So as Christians, we ought to be like that. We ought to be very loving, very loving. but there's more to it. Paul in Philippians chapter 1, as he wrote, he said that what he wants people to do is abound in love and more love and more love as you interact with each other. That's what he says. But he doesn't end there. His sentence doesn't even end there. His sentence continues with knowledge and discernment. Knowledge and discernment. So knowledge of what the revelation of God, what's in the scriptures, knowledge and discernment, knowing truth from false, pointing out error. And in the Christian circles where she grew up, they were all about love, and they didn't have the knowledge.
Being nice, truly, that's not love. They're not sharing, the truth with them. So it's like a worldly kind of love. But yeah,
good point. And then she says, religion doesn't make people good. How do you feel when you hear an atheist use the phrase good?
Well, obviously, no one's good, dealing with being in the, with Ray Comfort and stuff, that's a big thing, are you a good person, kind of thing. And it's like, no, none of us are good. I'm pretty good. Everyone's just so nice and wonderful and good. These people might be the friendliest people, I think probably friendly is probably a better word, friendliest people. But when it comes to, well, why do they say this and why do we say that? We just, whatever, we really don't believe that whole Bible thing. We're just here to, be nice to people and have some fun and socialize and whatever. Don't they have the female pastors, and aren't those the churches that always have the flags, the rainbow flags hanging outside of them?
It's very possible. I am not sure.
It's hard to
I can't speak to that. What is Face 4? You made a comment on the live chat. Email me that question and I'll answer it. BibleThumpingWingnut@gmail.com. What is Face 4? You asked me a question. I'd love to answer that next week. When that's a good point. When you hear an atheist say, well, these people are good in a subjective, I mean, we could share the gospel with them at that point, right? We can dive right into, well, as you say, nobody is good. We all need a savior. We're all worthy of the judgment, the wrath of God, because of our sin. And, which I'm glad you're here to point out that that's a gospel opportunity, because when I'm dealing with an atheist, my response I tend to jump on, well, by what standard is anything good? How is there anything that's good? All there is what is.
That's still good. That's because that's kind of where I go with the good person test. I don't do like the good person. I say, well, what is your standard? What standard are you using? What's your plumb line? What do you, how do you say something's good and something's bad? And then I compare that to the Christian standard, to God. And, obviously the only way you can know about God is the Bible.
Yep. We got some good apologetics going on in the comment feed. I appreciate some of the Christians engaging there. You guys you're doing good. It doesn't go unnoticed.
It was in the Psalms, I think, and it was like something about it's our joy to bash the heads of the babes, or something like that.
What? So, wait, what was that? It's our joy to what?
He's referring to a book that tries to point out the horrible horrors of Christianity and the scriptures, and he's dealing with one of those imprecatory prayer areas, or one of those times when God said, like, if you, I think he might have, I don't know what translation he was referring to, but the idea is when the babies' heads are struck on the rocks, that judgment.
Yeah, we want to kill all those babies that are on the rocks there, and those Christians are horrible people. Let me tell you that right now.
That's right.
But Well, a couple of things that kind of the way that I came to see it was, well, I just see that all as, you know, in the historical context of, you know, this tribal group from, you know, the Bronze Age, kind of probably somewhat, you know, representative of the time and place.
Well,
but I would.
I mean, yeah, but it's weird to act like we're basing a philosophy. I mean, to on the one hand say that this is a bygone era and we don't follow their principles anymore, but also say that this is somehow the most perfect book ever written and has great ideas that you should live your life by.
Well, I think it's perfect book.
Well, yeah. And it sounds like...
Did you hear the caller? The caller said, I don't believe it's perfect. He's got nothing to stand on. If he doesn't believe that God's word, I wish I had a Bible. I got a million of them here. If he doesn't believe God's word is true, he doesn't know, can't know anything. He can't know any, if God hasn't revealed truth to us, if an all-knowing knower hasn't revealed some things to us in a way that we can know them to be true, then we can't know anything to be true.
Yeah,
we're left with
hear
absurdity.
A lot of people, you know, when they say, well, I used to be a Christian, or I am a Christian. That's one of my favorite ones. I am a Christian, and blah, blah, back and forth with stuff. But say, well, do you believe that the Bible is the inspired word of God, or do you believe it has errors in it? Well, I believe it's got some errors and blah, blah. Okay, well, how do you know you're a Christian? You know, it's and then I go, well, I feel like I'm a Christian, and well, okay, so can a devil worshiper who eats babies for breakfast, if he feels like a Christian, he's a Christian? You know, it's like they have no basis to even say that they're a Christian if the Bible's not true. Because anytime they bring up the Bible and say, well, the Bible says that, well, that could be wrong. There could be errors in that.
So Charlie Reed, commenting on the live feed, says, please, Tim, don't try the pre-sup nonsense, which reminds me of an email that I got this week. Actually, I don't think it was an email. It was on Google Plus. Google Plus. This is from T.S. Mayer on Google Plus. It's been so long that I read or heard something coming out of BTWN's corner of the great debate. It's interesting to see that they haven't learned anything from so many years engaging with people who have considerable more philosophical baggage than their quote-unquote experts, and still assert these unbelievable weak arguments. Wow. And I saw another comment somewhere else, kind of in the same vein, and that was, the presup has got so boring. Presuppositional apologetics is so boring. Why don't they move on? The problem is that there's no until you give us an argument that comes close to explaining how the presup doesn't point out the absurdity of your position. It's where we stand. Presuppositional apologetics is biblical apologetics. It's Romans chapter 1. It's God has revealed things to us, and we all know that God exists. And if he hasn't done that, then you're left with absurdity. It's really a simple argument, a very logical argument. And
well, the truth doesn't change. That's the thing. And people, you know, they go, you guys have the same tire. Well, the truth is the truth, you know, regardless. So you know, it's not like, you know, we're not doing this to argue with people. We're doing this to, you know, it's about people's souls. It's about getting the gospel out to people. It's about showing them their absurdity in hopes that God will reveal himself to them, and that they would be saved, you know?
Hey, I mean, I could turn around this comment again, coming again. Presup is nonsense. It's nonsense. We could just use that argument and say, well, atheism is absurd. And until you come up with any explanation for anything, it's absurd.
Yeah. Why is it nonsense? If you say
what's wrong with nonsense?
Correct. If I'm not correct, what's correct?
What's wrong with nonsense? There you go. Very good apologetic there, John. Very good.
part of what you get out of church is the social experiment, the social experience, which is totally valid. I mean, people need other people. They need friends. They need to spend time with each other. And as far as like religious music goes, I've got no place to talk. I'm a lifelong atheist, but I also sang tenor 2 in a choir starting in high school and going on for many, many years. And still, one of my great pleasures of the year is joining an old chorus I used to sing with as they do a group production of Handel's Messiah, which is very religious, but I dig Handel.
He digs him.
He sings in Handel's Messiah every year.
Oh boy. I can't.
Here we go.
I can't sing, but you know that's why I have hardware to
your effects. You could do some Handel's Messiah right now.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. There's a man on here. It's called, I think it's a man. What is face for?
Yeah.
Palming when I watch the Atheist Experience. Boom.
None of that.
I don't know if it's the social part. I mean, part of it is the kind of the more just religious, almost the ritual, and the more like, for instance,
Episcopal rituals are very comforting. I agree with that.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
All rituals are comforting, and there's a reason for that. Mankind, we want to do something. We want to earn. We want to earn a right standing with God. That is our sinful nature. We're so full of pride. We want a religion where we can be good based on what we do, based on the rituals, the prayers that we pray, the amount of times that we go to church, or the things that we wear, or our own good works. We want to merit. We want our own righteousness. That's man's sinful nature, but it's not comforting in the end at all. And people who are going to these social churches without a gospel, they need to repent. They need to repent of all their good works, all their rituals, and place their faith and trust in the Lord Jesus Christ, in his life, death, burial, and resurrection. And it's only then that they can have a peace with God, that they can have a right understanding of Christianity. And
amen. And then they usually leave the social club and be like, what am I doing here?
Have you guys, are y'all familiar with that movie? It's kind of a documentary, I guess, but it's called Baraka.
No,
no, I haven't
heard of it.
Barack Obama.
I think it was from maybe the 90s, but it was, and then they made a sequel kind of to it. And what it is it's really well photographed. It almost looks like a National Geographic type thing.
Okay, this is painfully going to go on for another 10 minutes before they ask him if he knows. They ask him for evidence for God, which is what the question they want to ask every caller. So I'm going to skip ahead 10 whole minutes because it's.
Thank you.
I can't believe they left him on that long, but the callers that are random, that it seems to me that the callers that don't sound very intelligent, they're really glad to keep them on.
Yeah. They believe in God. So let's, they believe in God and they sound stupid. So let's keep them on. And
to all the arguments and
your best piece of evidence that your God exists.
I just want to add that we've been on this call for a while, so we may have to cut it short soon. But
sure, I'll say something real quick. Sure.
Yeah.
Well, so one of the things I find convincing is that when you ask, why is there something rather than nothing, or why is there any kind of existence? And I don't mean why is there this particular universe, because there's scientific ways of talking about that, but why is there anything at all? it leads to an infinite regress.
No, I mean, I think, and for people who aren't watching the video, I'm holding up this book again, whose title is "We Have No Idea," which is a perfectly legitimate answer and not a reason to, but not a reason to jump to a conclusion about a God.
I'm not jumping. To me, it's not a jump. It's all I'm saying is, is that in the sense that the idea of something that doesn't have a cause. In other words, you come to an infinite regress when you ask, why is there anything?
And does God have a cause?
No, I'm not saying that God has or doesn't have a cause, but I'm saying that aspect, that aspect of reality is there and doesn't go away.
So you yourself are still winding up at a position of we have no idea, but before you get to that point, you feel like you have to inject this extra thing.
No, I'm saying that's what has most traditionally been the response to why is there anything at all? Why is there Aristotle said, the prime mover. I'm just going back to the oldest approach.
So why does that? But the thing is, why does that lead you to the conclusion that some God exists?
Well, I'm saying that's what I'm saying that to the extent that there is something that exists without a cause, I'm calling that God.
Right. Well, we don't think that a God that isn't well defined is in any way useful as an explanation. But maybe you could mull that over and call back next time.
Okay.
And we can talk to you again.
All right. There's been thousands of pages defining it. So that would just be your opinion.
Yeah, but you've already rejected a lot of those. You say there's thousands of pages, but you started this call by saying that you don't believe it's literally true, which doesn't give us a lot of information to go on.
The Bible. I'm not talking about the Bible. I'm talking about Aristotle. I'm talking about philosophy.
Aristotle wasn't all that authoritative either. He had some good original ideas, but he
didn't say anything about him being authoritative. I didn't say he was authoritative. I didn't say that.
But
you said that it's ill-defined, and I'm saying there's been thousands of words written about defining what the unmoved mover is or the prime mover, so it's not ill-defined.
But an answer can be very old and traditional and still wrong.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't care about all those other definitions of the unmoved mover or whatever. I only care about what you think.
That's what I think.
Okay.
We still have no idea what that is because you've not actually defined it.
Just look up unmoved mover.
No, I'm not.
I've read about unmoved mover. It's not a good argument.
Yeah.
No, in your opinion, it's not. But you said it wasn't defined.
Like I said, we've got a limited amount of time on the show, so we're going to move on to another caller. But you're welcome to call back again.
Yeah, unmoved mover.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. We know it's on Wikipedia.
It's
also on ironchariots.org, which is a great resource for this kind of argument.
Yes.
And moving.
I don't know, that is the question they wanted to get to, but then when the guy's talking, they started interrupting him all the time. I mean, I get it. He wasn't doing a fantastic job, and he has already rejected the truth of Scripture. So they have a point there. But as soon as he starts giving any arguments, they just dismiss everything. Just dismiss everything. And you can, well, that's not a good argument. That's not a good argument. That's not a good argument.
How could they say that it's not a good argument when he holds up a big book, the sign that says, "We have no idea"? That's a bad argument, but we have no idea.
Right.
On to McKinley in Georgia.
Yeah, and all right. So you're in the call center, right? There are over 2,000 people watching the show. You got to figure there's lots of people calling in, and you just had that real dud of a caller. So if I'm going to put on the next best option,
let's liven it up now.
Yes. We need a good caller here.
Yeah.
Hello. How you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How about you?
Very well, thanks.
I'm ashamed of my hick.
Your accent?
Yes.
Don't worry about it. I mean, it's always a mistake to to pigeonhole somebody's personality by their superficial features, and that includes their voice. So just relax. You're fine.
All right. I was going to ask, why bother with the labels in a like? I am sorry. Why label yourself as an anything? You know?
Well, because it accurately describes our position on the question of God. I assume you're talking about the label atheist?
Or any label. Just why would you want to try to defend a certain viewpoint? Why not just
because it's useful.
Because you could end up changing your mind, and
of course, and then I'll change my label.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me give you one example and see what you think about it. People ask me, "What do you do?" And I say, "I'm a software engineer." That's a label. Is there anything wrong with answering that?
No, but that's your career. That is
sure, but it's still a label because language. Right, language is all about communicating things in an efficient way. Like, people are not mind readers, and I could go into a very lengthy explanation of what I do on a day-to-day basis, but I find that when I say I'm a software engineer, that answers a whole lot of questions right out of the gate. And similarly, if people say, are you religious? And I say, no, I'm an atheist, we've got a starting point. That doesn't mean that there doesn't need to be more discussion and explanation after that, but it is helpful to throw out that one word which has a lot of meaning in it so that people can begin to understand where I'm coming from.
All right. Well, I guess that makes sense.
Okay. Do you...
it gets better.
Where are you coming from?
What do you mean?
Are you atheist, theist? What are your beliefs?
Well, is there I'm a deist to a point.
Okay.
I don't really care about labeling myself, but I'm a deist. But as far as I accept the scientific, discoveries and different things, but I do believe there's a God.
Sure.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Do you, so my understanding of the word deist is that you think that there is a God, but that the God is basically absent from the universe, that he was sort of a guy who started everything and then watched it go and doesn't poke around or care about people's sex lives or whatever. Is that right?
Yes.
So, see, you offered the word deist, and I understood a whole lot about what you think without needing to go into that long.
It's so boring. I'll interject because there's a talking point there. Romans chapter 1 talks about people who deny that God exists, people who suppress the truth in their unrighteousness, and then says, not only that, but they approve of sin, and a very specific sin that is mentioned is sexual sin, homosexuality. Mm-hmm. And it's so interesting that a professed atheist like this fellow here will describe a deist god, a deity, somebody as a deist, as believing that there's a God who doesn't care about not just what happens. He's going to be very specific about one issue. It's what you do sexually. I think it just is evidence. You can reject the evidence, but what Paul wrote in Romans is being played out every day in these arguments that the atheists make, and the social issues that they hang on to. It's what we would expect to see if Paul was writing under the power of the Holy Spirit.
Mm-hmm. That long-winded explanation.
Oh, did you want to add, John?
No. I just wanted to say with, he says, oh, well, we just say atheist. Well, like the introduction talks about, they like to put out all sorts of weird definitions, but atheist is not, oh, I'm an atheist. So then you do have to go more into it. You can't just say, I'm a deist. You have to go more into that too. But I don't just go with it. Go
right.
Start the thing.
No, I did anyway. Right.
Right.
So it's useful, is all I'm saying.
Oh, well, I could understand that.
Okay.
All right.
Trying to think of something else we could talk about.
Well, what do most people at how old are you?
14.
Are you what are you, a freshman in high school?
No, sir.
Okay. So what then?
I am in 8th grade.
Oh, okay.
Oh, well. So you're still in middle school. Do you have friends that you talk about these subjects with yourself?
Me.
Oh. So just you, huh?
Just you.
Oh, you're homeschooled.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Ah,
Okay.
But I'm not, but a free thinker kind of homeschool. That's always been encouraged in my homeschool.
Well, that's good. You should continue that.
Right.
We're not the kind of religious sponge that sit in the back trying to hide from society.
Right.
Okay.
Well, that's fine. I just, I hope that you have, and I know lots of other homeschooled kids still have a lot of opportunities to come in contact with other people and have conversations. And I'm glad you called us because we like having those kind of conversations. And I hope that you have more people like that in your life that you can talk to and bounce ideas off of.
I agree. And you do know I'm a boy, right? I am a male.
I could tell, and that's also a label.
Yeah.
There goes Jack.
Which is fine. I mean,
All right. For the sake of our audience, we're going to seek the next caller, and I do not have a timestamp, so I'm going to have to move forward and look around.
Please hold.
Wow, and wow,
she's still on there?
Still on it. She's still on at the 1 hour mark. Let's see here.
I don't know one homeschooled kid who would call up this show.
Go to 1 hour and 10 minutes. And okay, Pedro from Lebanon.
Pedro.
All right. Sorry, but this is a necessary.
Pedro.
There we go. We got
Lebanon.
All right. Perfect.
Lebanon.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. You are in the country of Lebanon?
Lebanon.
Yeah, sorry, I mumbled.
Yeah.
I know it's
Okay.
Lebanon.
Yeah.
That's okay. I wasn't expecting to be.
Okay. So
no need to put you on the spot. How are you today?
It's okay. Fine. I was expecting Tracy. They told me Tracy, but it's okay.
No, it's
I'm glad it's okay because we're the only ones here. It's me and Jen Peeples.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's been on the schedule for me to co-host for a while now. So
yeah, I saw it on the website. So anyways, I wanted to ask you, I don't know if you already know my topic. So it's basically, I have this friend. So first of all, I'm an atheist.
Mm-hmm.
And I have this friend, he's not completely an atheist and not completely a theist. He's right on the doors, if you want to say.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason, so there was this time when we actually sat down and I described to him what and how I viewed the universe. And it's basically me saying that I prefer to say that I don't know rather than claiming something that I have no proof of. And we were able to move into the discussion till we reached a point where I truly couldn't know what to answer. And that was basically him saying that, what about the very, very tiny possibility that hell might actually exist? And that's when I really couldn't answer him, because how can you answer that?
yeah. So basically, this is the kind of the crux of Pascal's wager, that,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
you're better off believing because on the remote chance that a hell exists, you'd spend eternity in eternal torture. It's one of the, I guess, one of the most vile aspects of religion that,
Yeah, exactly.
it's nothing more than this appeal to fear, and it's indoctrinated in kids from an early age. And the fact that it still grips adults who no longer actually believe in a God, but they're still clinging to religion on the outside chance that hell might exist and they don't want to go there. It just kind of speaks to how powerful that level of indoctrination is. And I don't think there's an easy way to break that indoctrination. I do know from talking to a lot of people and from, going from that transition from theist to atheist myself, that fear of hell subsides over time. And sometimes it helps to talk to other non-believers and to kind of explore the origins of that particular aspect of theology, as terrifying as it can be, basically not letting that hide under a rock. Look under the rock, turn it over, examine where it comes from. What I found when I started investigating the Christian concept of hell was that a lot of people's version of hell isn't found anywhere in the Bible. It's actually this extra biblical description that a lot of very, I guess, talented and sadistic writers came up with.
Actually, what religion is your friend from? You guys are
Muslim.
Yeah,
Muslim,
that's what I thought.
And so I mean,
Clearly, right there.
yeah. And so, I mean, I don't know what the Muslim, the origins of the Muslim concept of hell is, but, people's concept of this, eternal torture, it has to come from a very sadistic mind. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
And I mean, it's like, what kind of benevolent creator would produce something like that as a punishment?
Exactly. I think here's.
All right. I think they've said enough. We can comment.
Yeah. At first I thought maybe the person that he was talking about was a Christian, one of those whole, you don't want to go to hell. Why don't you just try Jesus? That drives me nuts. So I think this guy is more like hey, just try Muhammad on for size,
Yeah.
If you don't like him, you could return him for a full refund.
I wrote down a few things of what she said. I don't know what would be wrong with somebody being vile or making an appeal to fear.
Mm-hmm.
What would, within an atheist worldview, how are those things bad? She's literally standing on Christianity to argue against it. Indoctrinated into the doctrine of hell, indoctrination. The only thing that's negative about indoctrination, the only thing that is different about indoctrination and proper learning is that if somebody is indoctrinated, they're not allowed to ask questions. They're not. That's what indoctrination means when I looked it up. Whether that's somebody's indoctrinated into something or not doesn't determine whether it's true or not. You could be indoctrinated to believe something that is true. It doesn't make it not true because you were indoctrinated in it. I don't subscribe and think that we should be indoctrinating people, making them not question what we are teaching them. A sadistic author came up with this, and that there's different versions. There's different versions of many things. It doesn't mean that one of them isn't correct, right? And then she gets into what kind of a benevolent God would create such a thing.
Yeah.
A holy one.
Yeah.
A righteous one. A one who would like to demonstrate his character traits to mankind for eternity. One, what kind of benevolent God would create a hell? One that is just and the justifier. Folks, atheists, Christians listening to this, God is holy. He's righteous and he's just, and he's on plan A. There is no plan B. He created all things. He's decreed the way things it would happen, and he's revealed to us his will, the will that of how he would like us to behave and interact, and as believers, as we seek to please him. And this benevolent God, who's vile according to her, became a man, a God who became a man, who lowered himself to our level and was fully God, fully man, went to the cross, fulfilled the law perfectly that we can't do, lived a perfect life, and on the cross, the Father poured out his holy wrath on Christ. That wrath that is due to all of the people that Christ was dying for. Everyone who's going to believe, repent and believe, that's who Christ died for on the cross. And in God's economy, God the Son dying on the cross and with the Father's holy wrath being poured out of him, that was more than sufficient for the forgiveness of our sins. And Christ was died, buried, he rose again. We know this because God has revealed it to us in the scriptures and in our hearts. And that's the kind of benevolent, vile God, as you describe, would create a hell, one that has done all that he pleases. That's the kind that's been revealed, the kind that gave you the breath to speak those words. That's the kind of God that did that. Any comments, John?
Well, I always think when people say God's no fair, God's a horrible this or that or whatever. Honestly, if you talk with somebody and the whole potter and clay, I love that because he's the potter, we're the clay. Okay. Anything that I make, anything that I manufacture, anything that is mine, I can smash it. I can burn it. I can crack it and I can put it up on the top shelf. I can sell it for nothing, or I could sell it for $1 million. And there's nothing nobody could do to say otherwise. And that's the God that people are saying they have no right. None of us have any right to say, God, why are you doing this? We're the clay. He's the potter. He can do whatever he wants with his creation.
Right. Romans chapter 9. And another answer to her wonderful question, what kind of God? See, that's a really good question. If you ever get that question from somebody who's asking, what kind of a God? Well, you can go anywhere with that. You can share the gospel. You can point out God's sovereignty. Where was I going? Oh, Romans chapter 1. This is the last time I'm going to sit here without my Bible within arm's reach. And it's the kind of God, Jen, that exists. Romans chapter 1. And it's the kind of God that you stand guilty before. So it's the kind of God that you're warring against right now. And I know that God exists. And I know, and what I'm trying to say is in Romans chapter 1, not only do we learn that all men know that God exists, but they also know that they're under his wrath. They know that. Okay, let's go on.
Because at some point during the discussion, we reached this possibility that he might not be a truly benevolent God. So there is this, it was a weird imperfection, but he accepts that there might be a possibility regardless of the type of God. So just the mere possibility of a hell existing.
Yeah, but
he accepted possibly the inexistence of a God, but the hell thing is,
if you come at it from that direction, there are all kinds of possibilities that that could be anything you can imagine. Just because something is written in the Quran doesn't mean that that's the most likely possibility. I think my favorite answer to Pascal's wager of all time was by the great philosopher Homer Simpson, who said, suppose we've chosen the wrong God. Every time we go to church, we're just making him madder and madder.
Yeah.
You know, reading the Quran and following the Muslim faith is no guarantee that you're escaping hell. As a matter of fact, if there's no reason to think that there couldn't be like a perverse God who only rewards atheists, not for any particular drive towards right or wrong, but he just thinks it's funny to torture forever people.
There's no reason to believe. What's the name of his book?
We have no idea.
If you reject the truth revealed from Scripture, there's no reason to believe. Fill in the blank. Fill in the blank, and that's the atheistic. Yeah. That's the atheist position, and that's the atheist apologetic against any claim to evidence.
But it's fascinating.
There's no reason to believe.
It's so fascinating.
There's no reason to believe.
I've found the right answer.
Yeah.
Do I think that's likely? No. But I don't base my actions on these outside fantasy chances of things that could theoretically be true in some universe.
Some universe.
We would ask, how do you know that you're not living in a fantasy right now? How do you, this is an outside fantasy outside of your own brain, Russell. How do you know? You don't.
There's a guy named John Loftus who was my guest on the show once. He framed this as what he called the outsider test for religion, which is if somebody from a different religion than you were to make the same kinds of arguments, would you find those convincing? And oftentimes the answer is no, which is why the arguments that people offer for their own religions, they can sometimes see that they don't make any sense when they shift their perspective like that.
Yeah, I see.
So I guess, sorry, we don't have any, advice as to, hey, do these 3 things and your fear of hell will disappear or anything like it for your friend. But it is a process. And I guess, if you can just reassure your friend that it does go away at some point.
Yeah, because you see, for me, I never had that fear. I just actually I was happy that I accepted that it doesn't exist.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not a nice idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not nice. That makes it false. It's not nice.
Yeah. It's not nice.
Not nice.
You're not nice, Tim. You don't exist. Tim doesn't exist because you're not nice. You're telling people what they believe and what they don't believe. How dare you quote that Bible book? Bible thumper.
I don't like the idea that I have to go to work tomorrow. That doesn't mean that I don't have to.
Maybe your work doesn't exist.
Hmm.
I'll tell you one thing. They will never replace you with one of them automatic driving trucks. I've seen some of the stuff you do. You don't have to worry about
I don't think they will. Not in my lifetime, not in my son's life, not in my grandkids' lifetime, but maybe after that, the structure and things that they would have to do to, I don't see it.
And that is, okay, let's say that he is over the fear of hell, because he also has this other fear of, even if there is no hell, that means there's nothing after that.
Right.
And that is scary for him. And so there is this fear regardless of.
What do you think they're going to say? I haven't watched this, but I can anticipate they're going to say, well, it's just like before I was born. There's nothing.
Like nothing.
I think they're going to say that.
What he tries to believe.
Right. But the thing is, it's kind of like Richard Dawkins' comment that, just by being born, you've won the cosmic lottery.
right?
Yeah, I heard you say that once.
You know,
and yeah.
you get to be here and
Yeah.
experience life. And so that's it. It's like, okay, this is the one and only life you're sure to have. So you're going to spend it on your knees begging some non-existent deity for favors, or you're going to go out and live your life and, you know, on your deathbed, look back on a wonderful.
You gotta wonder, is this woman ever understood Christianity? Ever? I mean, granted, this show is geared towards Christians. That's the way they bill it on their website. That's the way they've categorized it on iTunes under the Christian category.
They're under the Christian category.
Yeah. And she doesn't even know how to articulate Christianity. She just articulated Christianity as on your knees begging a deity for favors.
Yeah, well, that could be described as like Catholicism.
Could be described as yeah.
You know, maybe
it's not biblical. It's not biblical Christianity.
Type of church she was in.
Yeah, it's not biblical Christianity.
No, it's definitely not biblical Christianity.
But she's got to belittle it.
Oh yeah.
Life with friends and family and, you know, great experiences, and think, okay, this was really cool. Or, you know, are you going to approach death with fear and dread and regret? You know, my goal is to never approach death with regret.
Yeah, exactly. I see your point. Yeah. I really hope that he does see that some way.
Yeah. I mean, you can obsess about the fact that, you know, one day we're all going to die, and, you know, and it's not something fearful. It's a normal process that happens. And, you know, it's like, I know that.
What's not a normal process? Within the atheist framework, dear atheist, listen, what is not normal? All there is what is. Yeah. It's normal for whatever. It's normal for everything. It's normal for a person to die at 21 by gunshot. That's normal. It's just, these things happen. The tragedy. I'm trying to like not use words like tragedy or bad or evil things happen, because I'm trying to be faithful to the atheist position, right? What isn't normal? Everything is normal. Christianity is normal. Homosexuality is normal. Transgenderism is normal. Straightness is normal. Mental diseases,
it is what it is.
Mental diseases are normal. It's all just normal. These are all just normal things.
People who care about me will be sad, and they're going to miss me and I know this because I've had the same experience when people I care about have died. But I won't care because I'll be dead, and it's just you know.
She doesn't know that. There's no evidence for that. That you won't care. Evidence. You're just making that assumption. She has nothing to go on.
Nope.
Game over.
Also, if you'll let me, I'd like to give you some absolution. If your friend never accepts that he doesn't need to be scared of hell, it's not your fault.
Right.
It's not your job to fix everybody's opinions. Your friend might live his whole life thinking that there's a hell and thinking being a good Muslim is the only way to stay out of it. And that's a shame for your friend, but it's not your fault. Just keep being a good friend.
Yeah.
Why is it a shame?
It's only because
Why is it a shame? If he's believing in something that's not true, Russell, why is that a shame? It just is. People, Matt Dillahunty says he likes to believe as many true things as possible. Well, why? Why is that better than believing false things?
And then you go through the whole, well, it's better for the good, and going down that road for the good of the, you know, and then you go, well, why is that good?
Better and good? Yeah. Describe better and good.
Yeah. What's better? What's good? Well, you know, this guy, depending on exactly where he lives and how his family is, he might be afraid because they might like call him an infidel and chop his head off or something too. You never know.
Yeah.
Asked me, and he wanted to enter the discussion. That's all.
Okay. Well,
So yeah,
thank you
that's
for
it.
calling.
Thank you so much for having me.
Good luck to you and your friend.
All right, we're going to
Okay,
cover
thank
the
you.
one last
Bye.
caller we'll handle, and we'll be done with this episode of the
Don
Atheist Experience
in Los
Experience.
Angeles.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
Actually, the reason I'm calling is because something that Tracy said several years ago. She was dealing with Eric the Watchmaker. I don't know if you guys remember that particular episode.
No, sorry.
No.
Okay. Anyway, it's about the Cologne thing, and
Okay.
and it's funny because it keeps coming up. It's been coming up just about every episode you guys are on. It's
Well,
always
sure.
coming up.
Christians seem to
With the
think
media.
it's a really good argument and keep using it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me just go through what I understand about theoretical physics.
Are you
no?
Okay. Are you a theoretical physicist?
No, I am a amateur theoretical physicist. I follow Sean Connell and.
Do you have formal education in theoretical physics?
Why would he need formal education to talk about it? I mean, he just wants to talk about it. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe he's right.
Then
Maybe he's not. Maybe
then if anything comes up that he doesn't like, then he'll be like, "Well, you're just not properly trained. You're just you're stupid. You're like those Christians, or you're stupid."
No.
Okay.
Does that disqualify me?
No, but it also means we're not very inclined to accept your word for something that you understand about physics. I mean,
okay. So if our dear friend Dr. James White calls into the show, I have this degree, that degree in biblical theology. Are you going to take him as a credible? Are you going to believe him? I don't know. Maybe my skepticism just gets worse and worse the later these shows go.
Well, what ends up, it's they know God exists, and they're just trying to come up with more and more excuses and more things, and it's just nothing will, all of us, I think, have beaten our heads, beating our heads on the table because of some of this stuff, trying to talk with people and trying to do things. And it's just like, well, you know what? It's no matter what, they're going to deny the truth. Because that's what they do. That's what they're good at.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see where they're going to go with this.
Nothing personal. You wouldn't accept my word for something I said about,
Christianity,
Renaissance history or something that I know very little about, right?
Yeah. But
that's exactly right. Why would anybody take their word for anything they say about Christianity?
Well, he held up a book that we have no idea. So
that's
I'll
probably
take your word for it. Wait, go ahead.
That's probably the best point we've made all night. Why would we listen to you? You're not an expert in this. Why would we listen to you?
Well, I've been on the Atheist Experience. Well, now I can say I've been on the Atheist Experience, and I've had many experiences that have shown me your experiences are wrong.
What he just explained was, if you want to know about Christianity, go talk to a pastor of a Bible-believing church. Don't call into the Atheist Experience.
Yeah.
Something that's come up a lot, and you guys are aware of a lot of the physics that's going on, the arguments that are being brought up on physics. So what I'm going to tell you is, and I'll make it really short, I don't know how much time we have. I'm going to just say very quickly what is the main issues right now in theoretical physics as to where we are, where we're going.
According to a guy who isn't a physicist. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, please. I am not a physicist.
All right.
Okay.
So when we start with the Big Bang, okay, that's a start, right? We don't know what happened before the Big Bang.
Sure.
but we're pretty sure about what happened at the Big Bang or just right after that.
Well, yeah, approximately
Yeah.
10 to the minus something seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
Wait a minute, are you a theoretical physicist?
Nope.
Oh,
None of us in this conversation are those. I actually had the number at the top of my head at one time, but I'm getting older, so what are you going to do?
all right. That's enough.
Yeah, that's like, yeah.
That we can end on that note.
Yeah.
That was a zinger.
Oh, yay.
That was good. Well, I hope you folks appreciate these broadcasts right here on the Bible Thumping Wingnut YouTube channel, and then later we put the audio here. We put it on the we put it on the old Slick Answers iTunes account. We're going to be changing that Slick Answers account, iTunes account. We're going to change the name to the Atheist Experience. But all you who have been subscribed to the Slick Answers, you're going to get that feed automatically. If you're not already subscribed to that, go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com and search for Slick Answers until I change it. I'm going to try to change it this week.
Can you change those? You could change the
yeah.
Okay, good.
And subscribe to that. Just go subscribe to the Slick Answers feed until then. Or also you can get it at BibleThumpingWingnut.com. You can follow the links from there. Thanks again to everybody who prayerfully supports this ministry. I'm sitting here in a wonderful studio and with fantastic equipment in front of me because of our faithful supporters. If you would like to become one, obviously go to BibleThumpingWingnut.com. Click on support our ministry, and that would help us out tremendously. Big shout out to Wrath and Grace. To go to wrathandgrace.com. Great content and materials and t-shirts there. We should have a Wrath and Grace giveaway soon.
Ooh, I gotta get some Wrath and Grace shirts, man. I keep seeing those, and I'm so broke.
Hey, thank you, John Brady, for filling in for Len Pettis.
And I want to give a quick plug to my Bible Thumping Jesus Freak Facebook page. That's facebook.com/Bible Thumping Jesus Freak, or BibleThumpingJesusFreak.com will take you to their Facebook page. Like it. Love
Absolutely. It. Absolutely. John Brady, Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast. No, this isn't the Bible Thumping Wingnut podcast. This is the Atheist Experience. So stay tuned, folks.
Experience. That's
all right. All right. You need to come up with some more clips for us. We need an Atheist Experience.
Get some more software that I could use. I had to drop that stuff because it's too expensive.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Until next week, take care and God bless.
God bless.